Hello from me, Lazarus IDE. Welcome to the next lesson in the course on Introduction to Lazarus IDE. We are currently working on my second book, Introduction to Lazarus IDE Part 2, and we have reached the fourth bullet point of the fourth chapter. Components for working with HTML or the Internet from IPro bar. Let's open the PDF file. Last time we looked at these components, and we said that in this lesson we would make one big program with all of them. So, to do this, we open Lazarus and create a new empty project, placing the following components on the form. All of these are from this bar, from the synEdit bar. And then the buttons follow. The buttons are for loading from a file, loading from internet, updating, exporting the code and displaying the work with. TIPHtmlDataProvider, when selected, yes, choose what to load, and an exit button. Here's how the program works. Depending on the button pressed, the required component is activated. I think it turned out to be a wonderful and very interesting program, but unfortunately there is number 100% working functionality for all components, but as much as possible, as sober-thinking people say. That's it. Here's how it works. Let's actually show first the program itself in the Lazarus IDE. You see, it has a long and interesting code. Here's what it looks like. First we load from a file. The simplest option is to choose this file, the regular new 3. When updating, what you see is what you get. See. You see, it's not that much. Then we'll choose the option to download a file from my site, from the internet. And you see here it shows me that I can choose to open and view correctly in the system browser. I won't open there. You all know what my site looks like in real life. And you can see here how it looks, only here it's in Bulgarian. That's it. That's what I showed. The next option is to open index.html, a file that I made, here with different tags. And here I'll show the button for selection. Local file loads the same. And actually I forgot to show this one. Export the code and it lets me export it, where I decide to put it in an HTML file, say. I'm not going to export now. Let's see the other options. Internet address, here we choose URL address, from which we can download a web page. And the third option is to download just an image, and here we need to know the exact URL of the image. And exit is the exit from the program. But let's take a look at exactly how it was in the file. So this is after pressing the button to load from file. I did it with inline styles, because otherwise it doesn't work. And basically, here's what it looks like in the browser. My site looks like this. Then, if we make changes to the code, we said, we can save with a save dialog. And then I changed the sample file to the one I showed you with the tables. Here it is. Now a lot of things here don't work. We'll see how it goes with the other element in button 5. By button 2 load from internet, we can load a file from a URL address, but only via the HTTP protocol. Because here the work with TIPHtmlDataProvider 1 is shown, which only works with HTTP, but there are almost no such sites now, so I gave it the main address of my site to load and display this. But otherwise, basically, you know my website, so here I've given it in Bulgarian. Here, as you can see, and here that's why I've given this option to open in the system browser. In button 5 I show working with TIPHtmlDataProvider 1. As I said, its full potential has not yet been described and realized, so that I had to work hard and trying, with great effort, to discover, to try new things, to improvise, which took a long time, but you will judge whether we managed to cope with this challenge. Here is what I did last time, by pressing button 5. A local file, right? In the open dialog, in the URL, we write the URL that we want to open. Here, I've written my own site to open again. Here's how it looks, but at least here it's with the images, and the logo is visible. And only the images can be downloaded separately. When I showed it, I had copied the address of an image from my website, for example. But, in order for the image to be visible, it must not be larger than the dimensions of the panel, in width and in height, otherwise it may give you an error. And the last button exit is clear, we exit the program. That's all for this lesson. We save the project as Project 17 HTML. Best regards.